Okay, so we have these fascinating texts in front of us, passages from Exodus, the Psalms, John's Gospel, Paul's letter to the Corinthians. They span, well, millennia, but they all seem to circle around a similar point, don't they?
They really do. There's this clear echo, a thread running through them. It starts way back with instructions for a meal in Egypt.
Right, and then it connects somehow to what Jesus does at the Last Supper and how Paul explains it later.
Yeah.
It's like this foundational event keeps reverberating.
Exactly. And figuring out those connections, what holds them together, that's really the core of it. What does this tradition, starting way back then, actually reveal?
Let's maybe start right at the beginning then, with Exodus. The instructions Yahweh gives Moses and Aaron, they're quite detailed. First off, this month becomes the first month, a new beginning.
That's huge, isn't it? It's not just a ritual, it's resetting their whole calendar.
Yeah.
Their identity is now, fundamentally tied to this moment of freedom.
It underlines how massive this event was meant to be.
Absolutely. It's the starting point for their year forever.
Then you get the specifics for the ritual itself. Every household needs a lamb or a goat, male, 1 year old, unblemished.
Mm-hmm. And notice the communal part. If your family's too small, you join with neighbors. It's not just an individual thing.
It really stresses that shared experience. Everyone's involved.
That's key. And the unblemished part suggests, well, perfection, right? Offering something whole, something without fault for this significant act.
And then the timing. 14th day of the month. At twilight, the whole assembly slaughters their animals.
Twilight, that space between day and night, often symbolic of change, of transition. And again, the whole community doing it together emphasizes the collective nature of this moment.
Then comes the part with the blood. Take some of it, put it on the doorpost, the lintel where they'll eat the meal.
And this blood acts as a sign, a protective mark. Yahweh says, when I see the blood, I will pass over you.
There it is, Passover. That's the origin of the name.
Precisely. The blood makes a distinction. It marks who is protected, who is set apart from the destruction coming. It's a very physical, visible means of escaping judgment.
And how they eat it is also laid out. Roasted meat, unleavened bread, bitter herbs.
Right. The unleavened bread speaks to the rush, doesn't it? No time for yeast, no time for rising.
And the bitter herbs.
Likely a reminder of the bitterness, the hardship of slavery back in Egypt.
And they eat it dressed, ready to go, belt on, sandals on, staff in hand, hurriedly.
Yeah, the whole image is one of imminent departure, poised on the edge of freedom, ready to move at any second.
Then this isn't just a one-time thing. Exodus says it's a memorial, a Passover in Yahweh's honor, a feast, a law for all time. It has to be remembered.
And that's his power, isn't it? It's designed to be relived, reenacted. It's not just history locked in the past. It's a living tradition for every generation.
Okay, so jumping forward, we get to Psalm 116. This feels much more personal, like someone reflecting on being saved.
It really does. You hear the individual voice grappling with God's goodness. What return can I make to Yahweh for his generosity to me? It's that sense of profound gratitude after being delivered.
Yeah, he talks about being freed from fetters. It mirrors the Exodus story, but at a very personal level.
It does. And notice the response. It's not just feeling thankful. It involves actions.
Right, he says he'll take up the cup of salvation. Call on God's name.
That cup of salvation, it's symbolic, isn't it? A way to physically participate in or acknowledge the deliverance received.
And offer a sacrifice of thanksgiving? That echoes the lamb, maybe.
It could well do.
Yeah.
The animal sacrifice of Exodus is maybe transformed here into an offering of thanks, of praise, and importantly, fulfilling vows publicly in the assembly.
Ah, so it brings back that communal aspect we saw in Exodus. It's personal gratitude expressed within the community.
Exactly. It connects personal experience back to the shared faith and shared memory.
Okay, now let's turn to John's Gospel. The setting is crucial. Before the festival of the Passover. And John notes Jesus knew his hour had come.
Right away, John places these final events squarely in the context of Passover. It's not accidental timing. He's drawing a direct line.
And then during supper, something unexpected happens. Jesus gets up and starts washing the disciples' feet.
Yeah, pretty shocking act. Here's their master and Lord, as John calls him, doing the job of the lowest servant.
How does that connect to Passover beyond just the timing?
Well, Passover is about liberation from slavery, right? Jesus seems to be introducing another kind of liberation, maybe liberation from pride, from status. He's demonstrating radical humility, service as the new way.
Peter's reaction is telling. He refuses at first. You will never wash my feet.
Mm-hmm. And Jesus' reply is intense. If I do not wash you, you can have no share with me. This isn't just a nice gesture. It's fundamental to being part of what he's doing.
And then he explicitly states the lesson. You must wash each other's feet. I have given you an example so that you may copy what I have done to you.
It becomes a model, a command for how they are to live together. He's taking that Exodus theme of freedom and applying it right down to the relationships with each other. Service becomes the new freedom.
So then we come to Paul in 1 Corinthians. He's writing about this meal, and he stresses that he's passing on what he received.
Yes, he frames it clearly as tradition. For I received from the Lord what I also passed on to you. This isn't his idea. It's something foundational he's reminding them of.
And again, the timing. On the night he was betrayed. That links it straight back to that final Passover meal context we saw in John.
Definitely, Paul reinforces that link.
Paul describes Jesus taking bread, giving thanks, breaking it, and saying, "This is my body, which is for you. Do this in remembrance of me."
That phrase, "in remembrance of me," directly echoes the command in Exodus to remember the Passover. But the focus shifts, doesn't it?
It does. It's no longer primarily about remembering the deliverance from Egypt.
It's about remembering him, his body given for them.
And then similarly with the cup after supper. He calls it the new covenant in my blood. Again, do this whenever you drink it as a memorial of me.
That language, new covenant, is incredibly significant. A covenant is this binding agreement, this relationship established by God. Think of the covenant made after the Exodus. Now Jesus speaks of a new one.
Sealed in his blood. Just as the old covenant involved the blood of the Passover lamb.
Exactly. Paul presents Jesus as inaugurating a new relationship with God, based not on the old laws and rituals, but on his own sacrifice, his blood. It's a fulfillment, but also a transformation.
And Paul's conclusion hammers it home. Whenever you eat this bread and drink this cup, you proclaim the Lord's death until he comes.
So the meal becomes more than just remembrance. It's an active proclamation. It connects the past event, Jesus' death, with their present action and points towards the future hope of his return. It's a living, ongoing declaration.
So pulling these threads together, there's this undeniable line from the original Passover lamb. The blood on the doorposts, the meal eaten in haste.
The themes of sacrifice, deliverance from bondage, the command to remember.
All the way to Jesus' last meal. He consciously steps into that tradition. He uses its language, its timing.
But he reframes it, doesn't he? He makes himself the center of the remembrance, his body, his blood, the new covenant.
It's like the meaning evolves. The core ideas are a sacrifice, freedom, covenant, remembrance, but they deepen or shift focus.
That's a good way to put it. The physical liberation from Egypt, commemorated in Passover, becomes the foundation for understanding the spiritual liberation offered through Jesus' sacrifice. The pattern is the same, but the scope is expanded.
So the Exodus sets the pattern. God acts decisively to save, and this act needs to be remembered through a ritual meal.
Yes. And then Jesus takes that pattern, that ritual, and says, this is what it was ultimately pointing towards, me.
It's really quite profound how an ancient ritual meal, born out of a specific historical crisis, takes on these layers of meaning over centuries.
It really is. It shows the enduring power of ritual to carry meaning, to connect generations, and to adapt while still holding on to core truths.
It certainly makes you think about shared meals, about traditions, how seemingly simple acts can be loaded with history and significance.
Absolutely. Participating in something with such deep roots, it connects you not just to the past, but perhaps to something fundamental about sacrifice, community, and remembrance itself. What does it really mean to keep doing these things?